All right. What is up, beautiful people? It's Wolfbrother Mythos Kushranada from the channel Frost and Fist, and welcome to Wolfbrother Wednesday. Thanks for joining me as I work on some Minotaurs tonight. But it's been 2 weeks since I did a Wolfbrother Wednesday, and I really wanted to get to work on these Minotaurs. But of course, I can't go too long without doing a show, talking to my friends. Hey there, Kiwi. Good to see you. Also, since I'm painting tonight, my lovely wife, Lily Nightfall, will be assisting me, reading the questions to me as we do, of course, the Q&A portion of the show, and she'll be helping me read comments from the chat. How you doing, Kuja and Kiwi? All right, guys, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about a hobby update as I grab some brushes and get ready to do some painting with you guys. So my first hobby update is why there's been no shows here on Frost and Fist lately. And it's been like 2 weeks since we've had a video, right? Freaker, I'm sure will tell you all about it whenever he does a Freaky Friday. But first of all, there's just been, both of us have had a ton of work. And I know work is the constant excuse, but, we've both definitely had some extra responsibilities, lots of some extra hours we're not used to working. Freak actually had 1 week where he worked like 70-something hours, so, it's been pretty crazy. So he's just been too exhausted to do the editing or do his own show, and it's just been a lot of extra pressure on him. So he just needed some time to relax and chill out. So that's a Freak's portion. For myself, I'll be honest with you guys, last week was 4th of July, and I normally do my editing on a for the show on Tuesday. I film and I usually edit on Tuesday. However, this past Tuesday was 4th of July, and or last week's Tuesday was 4th of July, so I spent that day with family, and I was like, I'll just do a live show or something Wednesday, and it'll still be on time. We'll get a Wolfbrother Wednesday out. But lo and behold, when I woke up Friday, turns out we had a break-in here at our property, and we lost some valuables. But most notably, my sidearm was stolen, and that's first of all, I love that weapon, and that was a pretty big hit there. It was very valuable, definitely more than I could replace for a while, and quite some time. And on top of that, something like a firearm, when it's stolen, you're going to want to report that to the police right away in case it's used for any nefarious reasons or anything like that. You don't want to be tied to that weapon. So immediately, of course, I called the police, gave them my serial number. I had to wait around for, the police report and making sure that my statement was given and, that everything, all the due process was taken care of, because I didn't want, of course, again, if anything happens with that weapon, I don't want it to reflect on me. So dealing with the police and dealing with the burglary and all that, that took several hours. And of course, that just kind of really ate up my free time for the day. So it sucks, but I had to miss the show Friday because, dealing with some serious police issues there. So with that, we just weren't able to crank out the show last week. And then with that, I really, 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 I want to hit these deadlines with these Minotaurs. But I really want to do a good show for you guys tonight. So I'm going to talk to you guys and hang out with you guys, but I'm going to, as my British friends say, I'm going to crack on with these Minotaurs. Other things going on in the hobby. In fact, before I get started, what's up, Brother Zai? Oh, Kuja and Key are watching while they play Final Fantasy XIV. That's awesome. I really love that game. My other part of my hobby update. So I want to show you guys what I'm working on, these Minotaurs. So I've got 3 Inceptors here. I've got a 5-man tack squad, and I've got a Rhino/Razorback. Now, let me tell you guys about these problems. I'm about to show you a little bit more of the Rhino/Razorback. Let me tell you guys about this problem. Problems of being a Kushranada, okay, is I can't do things simply. Okay, I always have to be a little bit extra. And sometimes being a little bit extra gets me into trouble. It costs me extra time, extra effort, sometimes extra money, which I'm not saying, that it's time, money, and effort this time. But it just costs me a little bit extra because I have to be a little bit extra. It's hard for me to be just plain Jane. And so What happened with this Razorback slash Rhino is that my client asked for specifically, and you know what? I'll take a heavy bolter Rhino. Okay, did I say yes? No, a Cushionata can never do just the bare minimum. I said, well, I could magnetize those weapons. And she's like, hey, great, I'll have extra options. And then I couldn't stop there. I had to be extra. So then I decided to get into magnetizing the Rhino options, the extra weapons options. Let me just show you guys. Hold on. I've got a tray here full of the extras. And we'll go down. Boop. All right, so take a look. Pretty standard, although I really love the way those Minotaur colors look together on this Rhino. Pretty cool, standard Rhino. I did, if you guys saw any of my Instagram or Facebook pictures, I had super bright treads last night, but I put some wash down, some Wargamer Online Sam's formula of some Sepia, some Agrax Earthshade, and some Lamian Medium, and actually does my treads right every time. Looks perfect. I might do it just a little bit heavier of the same mix, but I'm really liking it. But yeah, nice basic stock Rhino, okay? Well, what if you decide that you have the extra points and you really want to get in there and pay the 5 extra points for a Stormbolter? Okay, I've magnetized this on, because I know some people, they don't glue it, and they're like, I'll just leave it on, loosely, but then every time they go to move the Rhino, like this piece falls off, the Stormbolter falls off, and I don't like that because it's loose, it's not secure, and I have to be extra. So, of course, I magnetized them. You can see, nice and secure, magnetized down, right? Ka-chow. It doesn't fall, nice and secure. But then, you got 5 extra points to spare. Ka-chow. Stormbolter option, all magnetized on. Again, doesn't fall, it's not wiggly. It spins to win, right? Spin to win, very nice. So you can move it around, do what you need to do. Then, of course, I'm like, let me be a little bit more extra. Okay, well, what about Mythos? If you have someone that wants to pay the extra 10 points, Demacia wants to pay the extra 10 points to add the Hunter Killer Missile. Nobody I know ever takes the Hunter Killer Missile except a Blood Angels player I know. But nobody ever takes the Hunter Killer Missile because it's one use only. For the Czar. Hey, what's up, my man? My man Will from For the Czar. So, Hunter Killer Missile, ka-chow. Boom, it magnetizes on. Boom, it's secure. Can turn it sideways and everything. It's fine. Good to go. See, I have to be extra. Well, you know what? What if I don't want the 10 troops? What if I would rather have the Razorback turret? Okay, so I'm just going to pull off the Razorback hatch here, which, of course, like I said, again, snaps right in. Nice and secure, right? Then we're going to set the razor part on. Now, the razor part hatch there just sets in. Okay, it's loose. It's wobbly. It's like, but Mythos, I thought you were going to be extra. Well, that's because I magnetized the turret to hold that whole piece on. Ka-chow. So, now I've got a laser Razorback, right? And I'm a little bit proud of this. Check out those lenses in there. I like the shiny effect. I use the Soulstone effects on everything. Anyways. So, ka-chow, Laserback option. Laser Razorback option. Okay, well, again, let's be a little bit more extra. What if I want the heavy bolters, which is what my client asked for in the first place? Okay, we're going to see this magnet's so strong, I got to pull the whole turret off. Can't just do it one-handed. All right. Put this turret back on. You want heavy bolters? Ka-chow, they snap right on. Ka-chow, the lid snaps right on. Oh, by the way, that's a lid on... that's a lid, or that's a magnet on top of the lid there. So that way, even the lid snaps on all secure. Ka-chow. Now, after all that extra, now I finally have what my client asked for. A heavy bolter Razorback. But I just had to be extra. I'm glad you like it, Will. I definitely think he'll be pleased by this. Now, I know the Stormbolter, and compared to the rest of it, the Stormbolter and the Hunter Killer Missile, they still look a little bit plain, but I'll get them painted up at some point. I think because these are extras, I'm going to focus on the troops tonight, but I definitely will get those taken care of as soon as possible. Kuja, you said, Freak, my man, it is my brother from another mother. So, Kuja, you asked how I magnetized it, and I will show you. So, underneath here, you'll see, underneath the Stormbolter, there is a sprue that I cut off and glued to the underside of the top armor here. In that sprue, I drilled a hole for the magnet and set it in there. And on the turret itself, I glued a magnet to the bottom. Sealed around it with green stuff so that way it doesn't just come flying off. Hunter Killer Missile, I just drilled a hole into the hatch here, put a magnet there. And then there was, all the other pieces of the Hunter Killer Missile were really delicate. So I didn't want to attach it to the arm that the Hunter Killer Missile goes on. I actually, if you'll take a look at this wide piece of the Hunter Killer Missile, I put the magnet on the side and just let it rest sideways. Same effect. Here on the inside of the Rhino, you can see I glued 2 pieces of sprue on the inside, and one is for the Rhino hatch, because there was a, these Rhino doors are kind of thin, but there was already a depression here, so I didn't have to drill much in this right area right here. Put a magnet there, but because the Razorback turret sits a little higher, I had to make that magnet higher, so I had to cut out a little divot there to set that Razorback turret on. And then you can see the same thing here. If we look, this also gives me a reason to show you the inside that I painted up. And you can't really see into it, but I have proof. I did it. I painted the inside of my Rhino. No one will ever see it. Actually, that's not true. My man Shroud said that once I give it to him, every time he deploys troops, he's going to open it up and make his opponent look in and admire it. So, yes, you're right, Kuja. It definitely is Freak's fault. And that's why I was telling people all week that the reason I went through all this extra trouble to make the Razorback / Rhino so fancy is because I just had to be FAF. And those of you who don't know, if you're curious, what does FAF mean? Great question. FAF means fancy as freak in this case. And I just had to be fancy as freak. But overall, I obviously am playing with my complaints. I actually have really enjoyed this project and, fully, doing a full custom job on this Razorback / Rhino. And it's going to be good for you to remember, Will. Yeah, and Kuja did his on his Rhino in one of his recent videos. So if you go check out Kuja and Kiwi's channel, you will also see a fully painted Rhino Razorback. On the inside, he's fully painted, and he's even got a dude in there ready to shoot outward. He even hinged the door, so that's pretty awesome. So I really enjoyed doing up and converting all the magnetized process here. Okay, so you did the Razorback Rhino combo. Excellent. But now that I've done that, and I'm almost finished with it, like I said, just a couple weapons left to do, but I am going to crack on with these troops now, especially since I am really excited by these Inceptors. I think these flying models are going to look really badass once I'm done with them. So the first thing I should do, Brian, my man, good to see you, sir. So that, by the way, is my hobby update. My one last hobby update I have. as I crack on here, is going to be a couple of games that we played. Had a battle report that we filmed with Freak. We got some unexpected film. If you remember, those of you who saw my last Wolfbrother Wednesday, I told you we got some unexpected film time with myself and the Freak Master, and we took that opportunity to go film a battle report, which is exciting. And hopefully sometime soon we'll get some time to work on that. But I think you guys will see we definitely had a really, really great time playing. And I had some reservations. I've been looking forward to 8th edition. Hey, what's up, Steve? I had some reservations about 8th going into 8th, and now that I've played a couple of games of it, I'm really excited. I'm enjoying what I see so far. I mean, there's still some things that perturb me a little bit. The lack of the brand Red Maw, the fact that how hard Thunderwolves got nerfed this edition. So there's some things that perturb me, but you know what? Overall, I'm enjoying the game, and I'm enjoying what my wolves are looking like this game. I was telling Freak that we play a lot of, my wife and I, Lily. Say hello, Lily.
Hey guys.
Lily, we play I did beat a game, Tau for a game. That was pretty epic. We play a lot of Overwatch, Lily and I, and we watch a lot of videos about the behind the scenes stuff with Overwatch. And with that, we get to see when they nerf certain characters, why they nerf certain characters, what adjustments they make. We watch a lot of PTR stuff, which is the Playable Testing Server, right? PTS. PTR.
Public test realm.
Public test realm. There we go. Something like that. Anyways, we can see a lot of the behind the scenes, where they make certain decisions, nerfs, upgrades, that kind of thing. And they said that sometimes when they have a problem character, like Torbjorn was one of their characters that they had, for example, a lot of people complained about his power level. And what they did was they had this idea that this is about nerf this. Absolutely right. That this is where we feel like the character should be, and he's performing about here. So what they did was they did nerf him not to here, but they dropped him a little bit beyond that. The reason, they said, is because he's such an instant win pick, or he was last year, about this time last year, he was such an instant win pick that almost everybody was quickly auto-picking him, right? And so they wanted to do more than just bring him down to where he should be. They wanted to get the millions of power gamers that were playing as him off of that character, so that way, things could stabilize a little more. And once he came down to an average amount of playtime as everybody else, they decided, to give him a little boost back up. And so with that, I feel like that's what's been done to my wolves. I feel like the Thunder Cav, so many people had a problem with the Wolf Stars, that they gave him a Torbjorn kind of nerf. They said, okay, let's bring him down, not just the Thunderwolves to where they need to be, let's go a little bit lower. And, once all the power gamers are off of that, maybe it won't be so bad. Now, do I think that they'll be fixed by Christmas? I definitely don't expect that. Because the Wolfstar stigma is still out there, and a lot of people still have that bad taste on their lips. And I get it. And I'm not going to stop playing Calvary. I'm going to complain and complain. And that's just kind of me. You guys, if you guys have heard me bitching, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to leave the game. I'm not going to leave Wolves. I'm not going to even stop playing my Calvary. They're not as strong as they were. They're pretty heavily nerfed, sure, but I'm not going to stop playing them. I'm just going to complain a bunch, but I'm still going to play them. Right. And you're absolutely right. The indexes are just to get us into 8th edition, and codexes, we have no idea what kind of buffs or, things like that will say will be in those, So who's to say that they won't be better by Christmas? You're absolutely right. Because there's supposed to be 10 codexes out, and we know that Wolves are going to be one of the first 10. So it could be. I'm just not expecting, and they did say that some things will get new stats, and that the stats in the codex, they specifically said codexes, so now I'm not wrong for saying codices, or for not saying codices. Dang it. Anyways, they said the stats in the codexes will actually supersede those in the index. However, if you don't feel like investing in the codexes, They said that if your opponent allows it, you can still play the indexes. So I think that's pretty cool. They've got a little bit of it going both ways there. And I like it when they go both ways on their rulings and decisions. Anyways, guys, don't let it be awkward. It's only awkward if you let it be awkward. It's like tuning a guitar. If you're too sharp, you have to drop it before you can tune. Absolutely, I feel exactly the same way. And so, if they do decide that, it may be a whole edition until Thunderwolves receive some of their former glory, that's fine. I'm just going to enjoy it as it is. And I think though, what I've learned, because in both my games so far, even though Thunderwolves aren't great right now, we were only playing 750, so very low points. I played. I couldn't take a full detail of Thunderwolves, so I took just one, and I ended up taking Nick Beer's Rune Priest on Thunderwolf. And I've seen some of my friends playing the boys lately, Brian, and they have been awesome. A lot of wogging. Even though I didn't take a full detachment of Thunderwolves, I took my Iron Priest on Thunderwolf, courtesy of Nick Beer, Edict Beer 40K. Go check him out. And that custom Thunderwolf he did for me, I took him, and I've learned that even though Thunderwolves aren't great, character Thunderwolves still pretty good, still pretty nice, because he got to still hide behind the troops, hide behind the Rhino and the troops on the ride up, but then after he got to his destination, he got to lay in and smash them, at least in one game. He didn't do so well in another game, but Freak will show you that. But overall, I'm really pleased. And you know what? I may not have the same glory that I had before out of my wolves, but I think I'll still get some good use out of them. And I'm really excited for the character wolves. Hey, I may have reason to run Canis as Canis again. Because the Death Pact detachment made it so good that instead of running Canis as Canis, I was running him as Wolf Lord on Wolf Mount with dual claws. So that'll be cool. So I'm not going to tell you too much about my game with Freak because, like I said, he's working on a battle report for that, and I'd had an amazing time with that. That much I will tell you. And I'm looking forward to you guys seeing that. But my other game, I did play against 750 points of the Tau, and that was a lot of fun too. I took some pictures, and I will probably cover that in another video. But yeah, I got to play against the Tau. It was, to be fair, a brand new Tau player, so someone who hasn't gotten very many games in this Tau, and they don't have a hold of all the rules and how the army works together yet. But still, it was a fun game nonetheless, and I was happy that I did not get destroyed right away that game. That was actually a lot of fun to play. And at no point did I feel like, even though he was new, that I was just outpacing him. Because I felt like the threat of the Tau on the table every round was still very real. And that at any given point, they might turn around and blast me in the face. So this person was definitely, even though they weren't as knowledgeable as an experienced Tau player, was still definitely a very viable threat. I mean, oi there, hey Daz. So, I mean, if you have a Viper, and a Viper can easily kill a man, just because it's a new Viper doesn't make it any less deadly, right? So that's how I felt about playing the Tau. The threat was very real, even though the experience wasn't there. And, which honestly made for a good game, because right down to the last minute, I was still nail biting and worried that I was about to get my pretty little face shut off at any moment. And I need this face. It's a good face. It's a good face.
Who Took My Dice says those are the best games when everything rides on a single turn.
Exactly. That's why I think I had such a great time, because it really could have been anything. And, like a true wolf, I had a couple of options, and the only thing that made the most sense was to, charge on into combat and keep swinging and swinging until either I could swing no more, whether it be because there were no enemies left or because I was dead. And thankfully it worked out in my favor.
Mini Warmut says, Tao, haven't you seen my boy's diorama? Tao is caca. Just having fun.
I am very, very, very willing to agree with you, my friend. No offense, Richard, if you watch this back. I love your Tao. Your Tao specifically. I love no one else's Tao. Just to poke a little extra fun, one of another friend that I follow on the YouTubes, Mini War James, has recently started a Tau army for 40K, and he said that he saw a video that explained some great tips on winning with Tau in 8th edition, and I was very confused by this. I left a comment that was like, strategy guides for winning with Tau. I thought it was 3 steps. Step 1, play Tau. Step 2, shoot all the things. Step 3, win. He obliged my amusing comment by saying, no, at some point we have to deep strike in there too. So guys, that is my hobby update. I've had a really good time in 8th edition so far. How have you guys been getting along in 8th edition? You guys had any good games yet? Anyone? Brian, have you had a chance to take in your first game yet of 8th edition? I know that you were interested in hitting up a local shop.
Is Sonic Knight Zai?
Sonic Knight is Zai.
He says he's over 3.
You rock, Steve. I always get confused when people post their ratios. I can't remember which one is the win and which one is the lost.
I think it's wins to losses. Roxas says yo.
Roxas, yo!
I believe that's Roxas.
Guys, Geary there in the chat is my raid master in an MMO I play, Final Fantasy XIV. He's pretty awesome. Oh, 3 losses. I'm sorry to hear that, Brother Sai. All right, so Brian, Mini Warmut there, has been watching some games at his local shop. It's bound to happen sometime. That's awesome. Good to hear, my man. I'm really excited to hear about your first game. I mean, even if you don't do a battle report or anything like that, hit me up. Let me know about your game, because that'll be very cool to hear about.
Who took my dice says, haven't had a game yet. Sadly, life is against me on this so far.
That's always rough. When you plan and plan, or you really want to, but just can't find the time.
Roxas asks if you have seen the Fox Minion on 14 yet.
I have seen the Fox Minion on 14, and I want one so bad. Also, Lily let me know that they're also doing Fox mounts as the mounts for this edition. Just like the birds and the ponies from the previous editions.
I got my Fox Minion yesterday.
You got your Fox Minion yesterday?
Yeah.
I'm so jealous. Why am I so jelly? Alright guys, so I'm going to start on some of the Q&A questions. Soon, Kujin Ki will be joining us on 14. That's awesome. We're really looking forward to that. The servers just recently started stabilizing, so we're hoping to have you guys in sometime soon.
On the 15th, they're doing a letter with the producer where people are able to ask them questions about various things, and I know some people have asked about
Transfers?
Free company transfers. So
Sweet.
We'll see if we find any details about that.
That'll be cool.
Zai says pay him and the fabulous paladin will return.
Brother Zai there, he was our fabulous one who mastered at tailoring?
I think all the crafts, mostly
Oh.
tailoring, yeah, but I don't know if it was all the crafts or just tailoring. Definitely tailoring.
All right, so let's hit up some of the Q&A questions from y'all's videos that you guys have done in your Q&As, or in Pete's case, Q&S, or in Kuja's case, the Hyra Hobby Sunday update. And we'll hit some of those questions. Come raid with us. Omega patch just dropped. Oh, really? There's a new patch out already? Jeez, I'm so behind. So I'm trying to debate Roxas. While I got my raid leader on, I really want to hit up Samurai and put some levels into Samurai before I start all these new quests. But part of me wants to just plunge on ahead with my monk just to get the story knocked out. What do you suggest, good sir? While my raid leader has a think on it, I'm going to start with the first question from Q&S. What does Pete ask?
He asks 2 questions. What are your top 5 book series?
We'll start with that one. So Pete's first question: what are my top 5 book series? I love this question because I'm a pretty avid reader, and my wife's a pretty heavy-duty reader too. I'd like to hear some of hers while she thinks about it. I'm going to start with my number 1 favorite series is the Jureg series, or also known as the Taltosh series by Stephen Bruce. Fantastic writer. It's a fantasy setting, but where humans live among elves. Very few of these humans are there, though. They're referred to as Easterners because they're a minority. And actually, racial issues and minority issues are kind of brought up there in that humans living among elves kind of society. And the elves there are like very high society elves. You know, they're born into noble houses. Each of the houses are named after legendary creatures like dragons or Tiasa, which are basically giant winged panthers with giant fangs. You know, kind of like if you took a saber tooth and a winged black panther, that would be a Tiasa. And anyways, in this, and of course, all of these elves from these noble houses that they're born into, they all take some kind of likenesses and traits from the animals that their house is named after. So it's kind of a cool society. The main character is Vladimir Taltosh, who is a sorcerer / assassin / witchcraft practitioner. And it's just the mix of that kind of fantasy is really cool. But even cooler than that is the way it's written in a very suspenseful kind of setting where, you know, he's got problems to solve. Sometimes it's as simple as an assassination he needs to do. Sometimes it's a threat to his organization or, later on, even the world. And he's got to figure these problems out. It's not just action and adventure, but there are like investigations and problem solving. You know, it's pretty cool. It's actually really awesome to watch or to read. So that's my number 1 favorite series. Wheel of Time recently. I started the series as a young teenager, maybe 13, 14. And I just got around to finishing the series this year, a couple weeks ago, in fact. And really enjoy it. Now, there were some parts because it was slow to start, and there are sometimes whole books that are slow. So some of the books, I could only get through thanks to the magic of Audible. But as overall, the story and everything, great series. Definitely recommend it. Third, I would pick the Tamora Pierce series. And she has, there are little trilogies in the overall story of that world. But in each of the trilogies covers a different main character and usually a different time period. So it's kind of cool to see, this entire world continuously growing up and changing each generation. And because sometimes the generations overlap, you know, a character you followed as a teenager in one trilogy of books is, you know, an old and wizened veteran or teacher in in the next series. You know, it's pretty cool. So the Tamora Pierce series that was my number 3, right, babe?
Yes.
I would have to say that I just had it. Magic the Gathering. Okay, there's one about Goal the Woodcutter and Greensleeves, the Mage, the Druid, and the book starts with Whispering Woods. That series is amazing. In fact, one book in particular called Arena is absolutely fantastic. And the way magic is written in the world of Magic the Gathering is honestly unlike I've seen in any other book series. It's just a very, I mean, it goes into the details of casting the spells and, the it's called Arena because they actually have, annual gladiator style. They have annual competitions and tournaments, and entire houses of magic are kind of like their prestige level, and all that is based around their use of magic. While on the other hand, you've got Gull and Greensleeves traveling through the woods with their army, trying to take out mages who abuse their power, and who often become planeswalkers, people who can transcend worlds and realms and abuse their power by, ruling towns, playing God, that kind of thing. So it's really cool to see their use of magic. The Dresden Files. I think I've run out of slots, and I still have more book series I wish I could put on the list. Dresden Files, certainly. Dresden Files is one of my favorite book series. It's a modern day wizard set in Chicago. He considers himself wizard for hire, and it kind of lets you in on the secret world of the supernatural. And Dresden himself, much like Vladimir Taltosh, they have kind of the same personality. They find themselves in this supernatural world they can't handle, and their way of dealing with it is to become smartasses. It hides their fear, and they're very humble. They're very aware of their fear and that they could die at any moment. But in spite of their fear, they turn out to be quite the badasses. So, definitely another series. And I guess that's all 5 for me. I wish I had more books to go. All right. What about you, babe? What are some ones that you'd like mentioned? Oh, that's a good question.
Actually, those are all the same book series I've read.
All right. So all the series that I've mentioned, those are Lily's answers as well. Roxas said he thinks I would have more fun with Samurai, but knows I don't have much time to play, so I may not have time to level it. It's a very balanced answer, and I feel both ways, Roxas. I saw Zai asked a question there. Would you mind getting that for me?
He says, Mythos, are you interested in the Reavers?
You know what? I am interested in the Reavers. I'm glad you asked, because those are some cool-looking models, my man. In fact, I really want to get some wolf skull helmets, kind of like are on the Wolf Priests, and put those on the Reavers, and, do my custom Silver Moon thing to them, and make that my take on them. But yeah, I am definitely super interested in those. They look really cool.
Okay. Mini Warzone Pete, his second question are spin-offs of other shows that you enjoy.
Spin-off shows that I enjoy. I'm sure they are out there. I'm having trouble thinking of them, but I'm going to start with my first one because it's a recent watch that I've been enjoying, is DC's Legends of Tomorrow. And I started off watching Arrow and The Flash and really enjoyed those. And Legends of Tomorrow seems to be like a use of the side characters from that series in a way that doesn't just make them feel like side characters, It gives them all some depth, gives them all some definite showtime where they get to be the heroes. And I think it's a pretty great show. Now, to do the same thing with an anime, I think Fumofu from Full Metal Panic is a great spin-off series. The reason is because they take this dramatic, this hardcore dramatic anime, and they focus on the fact that if you really think about it, it's kind of an amusing situation with the fact that they even make fun of themselves. The fact that the main character is a 15-year-old soldier badass who's been in more wars than people even believe or exist in the world, you know. And he's got the hardcore approach to everything. Everything must be nuked. Everything, you know, a love letter slipped in your locker is obviously, you know, a danger or a weapon that can be used against you, like an exploding terrorist threat. So he at one point, thinking that a love note in his locker is a bomb, he gets a bigger bomb and blows up the locker. Dazrock asks a really great question. Any ETA on the Silver Moon Wolves lore? So, I'm glad you asked that, and actually, I am working on that right now. Um, I've been reading up on the lore parts that come in Curse of the Wolfen and Wrath of Magnus, and I want to get through those because those could directly affect the lore for my Silver Moon Wolves. And actually, I'm glad I've started doing that because in some of what I've been reading, I kind of need to adjust a little bit the way my lore is going. So it's been good research, but unfortunately, because I'm not a very fast reader, it's taken a little more research than I expected. But that is a great question. Now, do I have an actual date for you? I don't, but just know that I'm working on it. I haven't forgotten. I haven't put it off.
Who Took My Dice asks, who is your favorite comic book character?
My favorite comic book character, and that honestly is the entire Bat family. I am a fan of Batman, and you know I cheat on these things, so you know don't judge me. I'm a fan of Batman. I'm a fan of all of his sons. So starting with Dick Grayson, his first adopted son, who became Nightwing. Then next, Jason Todd, who became the Red Hood. Big fan of him. Big fan of Tim Drake, his third adopted son. And with that one, I feel like overall he was the best Robin. He still is to me the best Robin. All of them are great, but I feel like he was best at being Robin and making Robin stand out on his own. With the others, a lot of people prefer Dick because he was the first Robin, but I feel like he is a much better Nightwing than he is a Robin. And Damian. I have some mixed feelings about Damian. Damian can be kind of spoiled, and it's only natural for him to be spoiled because he was raised super rich and promised that he was going to inherit the world, right? His grandfather's the head of the League of Assassins, and told that his rule would be told him that his rule would pass on to him. So it's understandable that when you're told that you're going to be a god and you're raised that way, you act a little bit douchish. However, he's a little bit douchish, so it's hard for me to absolutely like him. Thank you, Daz. Yeah, fact checking can always be a good thing. But overall, especially with some of the DC animated movies they've been doing lately, and they've been humanizing Damian a little bit more, and I actually find myself liking the kid, especially when they did Teen Titans and then the Teen Titans versus the JLA. Those animated movies did a great job of bringing, a likable side to Damian. So now I'm a big fan of all four of his sons. I still think, he's a great assassin, and I love him adding Katana. That's right, Katana, not katanas. I like him adding Katana to the Robin outfit, but I definitely feel like he is someone else now. He's definitely not the lovable, huggable, funny, non-lethal Robin that everybody else, kind of brought to the role. He does a great job of being his own hero, though, and not being the same Robin that other people were. And I think that's really great that he's very differentiated. Tim's still my favorite Robin, though. But I like him as Red Robin. That's a great question, Steve.
Pooja asked, what are your thoughts on the reverse for 40K and the new box sets, First Strike and No Fear?
All right, so we already talked about the Reavers, and I want them. I think they're pretty awesome. I expected some kind of extra movement with them, like, scouts have. But that's cool. I like the terror ability. It seems like it can translate into like an extra just dude gone, right? If their terror ability drops their leadership by one, and if that roll that they made happened to be a them not making their leadership, that terror ability is instantly an extra dead body. So I think that's going to be cool. I like that their number of attacks. So they were looking at, was it 2 base, 3 because of their combat blade. So I mean, that's going to be some pretty good number of hits coming out. And then of course the sergeant's going to get 4 because he has 3 base, and then an extra one with the combat blade. What'd Steve just say?
He says Reavers are going to hurt. They can also cancel out Overwatch with their grenades.
Oh yeah, the ability to cancel out Overwatch. That's why I want at least 2 squads for my Silver Moon, because charging is what I do all day, right? And so whether it's going to be with the Blood Claws or the Wolfen or whatever, I think the ability to cancel Overwatch, I definitely want these guys hanging around my Malay beefsteaks. Shock grenades for the win, especially since I had a great example during one of my Overwatches recently. One of my games recently, the Tau player I was playing against rolled really well with some crisis suits, and that was just some automatic dead soldiers as I was charging in. So, and of course, that AP -4, there was nothing I could do about it. It was just automatic dead soldiers. So the ability to cancel Overwatch with shock grenades is huge.
The other part of Pooja's question, how do you feel about the new box sets for Strike and No this year?
I'll come back to that question. I don't even know what's in the new box sets, to be honest with you. If somebody wants to let me know in the comments below, that'd be cool. And I'll come back to that question.
All right. Joe has 2 questions. The first one is, what was your first tabletop game?
Joe from Green Stuff Games. That's a great question. And, it made me remember, I normally when I tell the story, I tell the story about how my brother Daz and we were the first ones to lose in Magic the Gathering, and so we went and played Flames of War, and I remember that typically as my first tabletop game. But actually, I forgot that back in North Carolina, when I was a wee lad of 16, we actually participated in a BattleTech tabletop game, and I really liked that. And I was adamant because I grew up with Robotech, and I loved the way those battle suits looked, the Veritechs. And so I asked the GM if there was any suits like that, like what the Veritech looked like. And he's like, yeah, there's one, but it's called the Phoenix. It's a light mech. It's very weak. You're probably not going to want it for the game. And I was so adamant. I'm like, I don't care. I'm taking it. That's what I got. And he looked through his collection, and just so happened that he happened to have the model for it. So in his campaign, BattleTech, I got to play. And that was a great campaign. Darklight Dreamer got to play in that. I don't remember what his suit was. I think it was one that focused on energy beams. But Darklight Dreamer was in it. I was in it. And really fun game. But after the game started, I took what stat-wise was a weak mobile suit, and actually I did really well with it because almost all mechs have a ability called Death from Above in that game, and it's basically if you jump and land on another suit, you could do some critical damage that way. Well, the Phoenix had a special jetpack thruster that basically, like a Final Fantasy Dragoon, let me leap off the table for one turn and come down anywhere else on the table or within a certain amount of distance or whatever. But when I came back on the table with my thrusters, if I landed on somebody, I dealt critical damage. So, so therefore I got double criticals, and I was actually doing a pretty good job in that game. There were some matches I had where I got nuked before was able to get close enough to, go all Lancer style on them, which is fine because in Final Fantasy, um, Lancers are known for tanking the floor. Um, but in games where I did manage to make it close enough, yeah, I was able to get in and do some real damage. So, BattleTech, that was my first game, Joe.
Okay, Joe's second question is, what would you be from a Tolkien fantasy-ish setting?
All right, from a Tolkien setting, what would I be? I would have to go, I think, with the elves on this one. I think the Tolkien elves are pretty awesome. They're very cool seeming and magical race, and plus, I love the way their weaponry looks. In fact, I have a replica of the Hatterfang, that Liv Tyler's character used. I think the elves are just really cool. I love their aesthetic. I love the way their weapons look. I love, the way their magic is. I think just in general, elves seem pretty awesome. Rivendell seemed like such a beautiful and glorious place. I think elves definitely, if I could be any of them, I would be an elf.
Alright, Who Took My Dice says First Strike has 3 Reavers, 3 Intercessors, 3 Nurgle Marines, and a number of Plague Zombie guys, and Pooja and Kiwi say both boxes come with mats and the box becomes terrain.
Oh, cool. Is First Strike the cheaper one or the more expensive one?
Oh, it didn't say.
I'm asking them.
Oh.
If it's not that heavy duty, I think First Strike sounds pretty awesome because I do want Reavers, and more Primera stuff is always awesome.
Let's see. For the Czar says, do you still play BattleTech or do you plan on getting back into it?
I have discussed it. I don't know anyone around here that plays it, and there's not a lot of there's no support for it anymore. I never had my own copies of the books or the models, and so I'd have to go hunt stuff down. But my brother Roxas and I, the raid leader in chat there, we've talked about it before because he's a big BattleTech fan too, and he was into it enough to where he knows the lore and stuff, and he still remembers all the names of the different suits and stuff, and I know for sure that I could get him into a game. Not trying to recruit more than just me and him, I'm not so sure, but I would like to get into it and play it again someday, honestly, and see if my little Phoenix still rocks.
Let's see. Black Country Wargamer, do you think you're into too many war games?
Joe from Green Stuff Games, thank you for your questions. Now on to my man Carl from Black Country Wargamer. And Black Country Wargamer asked, do I think I'm into too many war games? Not at the moment. I would actually like to be in more. I want to get into Frostgrave. I would like to one day get into BattleTech. I would like to one day learn to play Robotech, even though I hear that the rules and the models are not so great. Just because I love the series so much, I'd like to check it out. I would like to get into Age of Sigmar at one point, so I'm actually eventually looking to expand. But time is a limited asset, and we all have a finite amount of it. So we'll have to see. But I would definitely like to do more.
Oversoul says, if you had to compare tabletop games or the stuff like your hobby to a particular video game genre, would you say it's closer to RTS, like StarCraft or Age of Empires, or tactics, like Fire Emblem or Final Fantasy Tactics style?
Ooh, that's a good question. So, if you didn't hear, the question is that if I had to compare it to a video game, is Warhammer more like an RTS or a tactics style video game? And I would have to say, on one hand, it definitely is like an RTS in the fact that, there's not as much organization. There's not clean lines of where you can and can't go or where to expect your enemy from like a tactics game. So in that fact, that is more fluid. It's more like an RTS. But there's no fog of war. You start the game being able to see where your opponents are. The fact that, And I think that's a huge part of the gameplay because you are maneuvering based on what you see on the board. So in that aspect, I feel it's more like a tactics style game. Even though there may not be clear lines, I definitely think it's got that tactics kind of feel. Like maneuvering each other around like a great big game of chess. So I think definitely more tactics style than RTS.
For the Czar says you may want to check out Wargamer Fritz's channel. He's been doing some vids on BattleTech.
Ooh. You know what? Nick's been trying to refer me to, refer all of us to Fritz for a while. So that is a great tip, Will, my man. BattleTech. Man, that'll bring back some memories watching that. I'm definitely going to have to check it out. Thank you for the recommendation.
Roxas says he wants to get into the novels, but he's not sure where to start.
That's a good point. It can definitely be, especially something that has such a fan base from so long ago, can definitely be a daunting task.
Let's see. The question from the Emperor's Path. What is your favorite aspect of the hobby at the moment? Lore, modeling, painting, list building, playing, social media?
What is my favorite aspect of the hobby? Well, let me tell you right now. It is not the modeling part. It's not the building and assembling part. I love painting, and I'll be honest with you guys, I enjoyed the experiments I did on this rhino here, but building is definitely not my favorite part because I feel like it's the part I have to go through to get to painting, and it's kind of the delay to get to painting. So with that, I feel like in fact, let me talk about that for a minute. My brother Richard over at The Nerd Life does commissions on assembly, and he just did a great job with the builds over at Chief Live Gaming. And so I'm going to take a page from that, and I've already discussed it with him. I'm going to be sending him my Wolf Contemptor and my Wolf Imperial Knight for my man to build up so I can paint them. Because I would definitely love to put my own personal touches on them and spin. However, assembly is just, it's so easy to screw up, and I always feel like a fish, like anytime I start making mistakes, I feel like it avalanches, like a fish trying to swim upstream and then hits a really strong rapid or current and it just knocks them all the way back down the hill. I don't know why I came up with that imagery. That's what popped into my head. So I would definitely say painting and playing. And the reason I gave both answers is because, I like to cheat on the show. But also because when I am enjoying the game, I love the hell out of the game. Like we talked about earlier, a game that is close-knit, you don't know who's going to win, you're biting your fingers, every move counts. Those intense games, that's what makes me fall in love with the game. But when you have those games where just one person, you're just blowing your opponent away, your opponent's just blowing you away, those definitely aren't as fun. And I have issues with a lack of control, and when I feel like things are just too far out of my control, I'm no longer having fun. And so I don't a lot of my friends tease me because they say I hate losing, and it's not that I hate the losing aspect. I don't mind losing if it's solid. What I don't like is the powerless feeling that comes when it's just one-sided. That's what I absolutely can't stand. And there's certain games where, let's take Tau for example, where sometimes I feel like it took me more time to put my models on the table and than it took to play the game, right? And so those are the times where I'm like, okay, I'm just going all into painting. All my focus for the next year is in painting. Okay, this be a little overly dramatic. For the next couple of weeks, it's all into painting. And so, I get sour or salty or however you want to put it. And I want to focus on my painting ability. And I, like, painting has its trials too. I can definitely mess some stuff up, but more frequently, it's a comfort for me when I'm not doing so well in the gaming aspect. However, when I am enjoying the game, I absolutely am addicted to it, love it, want to get back on the battlefield right now kind of thing. So that's a great question, Sam.
All right, Chief Live Gaming asks, have you ever considered snapping a couple of pics during your turns and making over a slideshow to make a battle rep? for talking over a slideshow to make a battle rep?
That's a great question, my man. So on my last Wolfbrother Wednesday, I talked to you guys about a game that I had, and apparently Jake liked hearing about the game and recommended that I take pictures for a slideshow style bat rep. And I think actually I may take a cue from that. In fact, I took some pictures from the game I played against Tao this past Friday. That's why I didn't go into too much detail. And yeah, you guys may have a little slideshow style battle report coming out. So yeah, I think I am stealing that idea. Thank you very much, Jake.
Wargamer Online says Minotaurs.
Wargamer Online. What are you guys doing up at this time? It is so late. It is definitely past y'all's bedtime. Good to see you guys. Who is on tonight? I hope it's not Phil, because Phil's supposed to be on bed rest. It's all right. It's my man Sam, painting Custodes. Man, you were not kidding when you said that you stay up all night painting Rachel's stuff. Snake? Snake! Good to see you, Sam. Oh, yeah. Actually, Lily, my lovely wife, is an insomniac as well. And so even if she's got nothing going on, she's frequently up till way past 4 a.m. just because she can't help it. So I definitely understand there, my man.
Let's see. And the last question on here is from Who Took My Dice. They ask, what is your favorite sci-fi movie?
Oh, Who Took My Dice? My favorite sci-fi movie. Oh yeah, Insomnia is very productive. In fact, Lily, in one of her worst bouts of insomnia, she decided to be productive about it and learned hiragana in like less than 3 months. It was ridiculous. Hiragana is one of the writing styles that you see in Japanese writing. Yeah, it's a heavy-duty skill to learn in only 3 months. Favorite sci-fi movies? Oh my gosh. Of course, there's trademark favorites like Star Wars. Love some Star Wars. I want a lightsaber right now. Gosh, I did not prepare for this. I want to give you more than just the general fan answer. But I am going to go super sci-fi, and I am going to answer an old sci-fi movie called The Guyver. That's going to be my favorite. Of course, up there with the greats. You know, I love Star Wars movies. But we already know to expect Star Wars movies. So I'm going to answer The Guyver for a classic, but that's more with a Japanese twist. And my other one, a more normal, more American movie, Equilibrium, is also one of my favorite sci-fi movies ever. With, of course, you know, Batman, Christian Bale, and the gun kata. So, Christian Bale, Equilibrium, gun kata, definitely. Absolutely. Gun kata for the win. In fact, I think I recommend people, anytime I tell people, yes, clerics, oh my god, clerics are better than everything. If I could find a way to translate that into Warhammer in some way, I would have to make, you know, clerics a thing. Yeah, Equilibrium. In fact, when people join our group and they haven't seen it yet, first of all, we show them the gun kata music video. And then, which is done to Pretender by James Labrie. Fantastic music video. And it is just so great. You can go look it up on YouTube. It's fantastic.
Except for it has spoilers in there. So.
It does have some spoilers, but you really don't know what you're looking at. I say start with the video. And after that, puppies do turn everyone around. Oh, yeah, Firefly is also awesome, Roxas. I think, though, if I had to pick, as much as I love Firefly, I would have to put... Daz is back on Heather's account. I would have to put Equilibrium just a little bit over Firefly, as much as I love Firefly. I want to be a cleric so bad. Yeah, and is that our last question?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Was Wargamer Online saying hey to me? I don't think
Possibly.
so.
Are they?
I don't know.
I can't see the comments in some cases, so you'd have to tell me.
Back when you were talking about computer Ghana, they said that's awesome. Good use of the time. Hey, by the way.
Oh yeah, that would be you.
Oh, hi.
So Lily was just clarifying if someone was talking to her. She says hi back. Also, Kuja and Kiwi say hi.
Hey there.
So guys, yeah, thanks for joining me for this hour. I've done a pretty good job pretending to work on these Minotaurs for the last hour. And you can see, they've got a little color to them now. They're about to get my special shape wave pads on one of their shoulders, and they're about to get some red on their shoulder pads. So we are about to take these guys up to the next notch. I'm so sorry, Sam. Yes, in fact, you actually did jump in at the end. I'm just over an hour in, and if I make this too long, then, Freak fusses at me. Oh, good luck, Roxas. I hope you guys do kill the final boss of Stormblood. You know what? We'll find something to talk about for another 5 minutes just because Sam jumped on at the end. That is how much love I have for Wargamer Online, the whole team. In fact, actually, this what I'm working on right now, my Minotaurs, this is part of my Wargamer Online Chronicle, my WGO Chronicle. So if you haven't checked out the Wargamer Online community page, definitely go check them out on Facebook, request to join, and if you request to join, they will definitely get you approved up, and you can definitely jump in, start chatting with people, or just sharing pictures of what you are currently working on, or see the other amazing work that people have been doing. And if you see the hashtag Double Geo Chronicles, the hashtag Double Geo Chronicles is just people who have been inspired by the new edition and inspired by our friends over at Wargamer Online. And yeah, they were all just doing it. They started doing up 1,000-point armies for 8th edition, and a lot of us have just jumped in and started, showing off our new 8th edition forces as well. So this is going to be Shroud's Minotaurs army, and yeah, that's definitely what this is all for.
Kuja asks a question. Kuja asks, how do you fix overruns from the airbrush?
I am definitely the wrong person to ask about the airbrush. Freak could tell you so much more than me. And yeah, definitely there's so many people making some amazing armies, and I'm just blown away by all the great work I see over at with the WGO Chronicles right now. But my airbrush, I seem to have, using the metallic paints from the GW line, I seem to have clogged more than I can fix right now. And the other day I spent just trying to do these Minotaurs. I spent like an hour trying to get this thing unclogged enough to spray the metallic paint, no matter how much I thinned it down. And so she's going to need a nice long soak in some mean green before I can get her up and running again. So if you've got some airbrush questions right now, I am definitely not doing a good job with the airbrush at all. You're going to have to refer that to my partner Freak, and I'm sure he will be happy to answer those on Freaky Friday. Switch to a cheaper and larger airbrush so it flows better. That's awesome. I may want to check that out because I could definitely use something that flows better. What 10-pound airbrush? Great for base coating? Sam, you're gonna have to. If you would please, on Facebook or whatever, or Messenger, if you can link that where you got yours and what the model was, I would definitely like to get my hands on something like that, because I could definitely, with my noobish skills, use something that has better flow. And yeah, plus, I can definitely use a backup airbrush at the moment, because this one, like this one right here, clogged up, needs good soak, and I am out of commission just painting everything by hand right now.
Kuja said wire brushes for airbrush are amazing, dude.
Wire brushes, I'm gonna have to check it out. Way better than Phil's expensive one for base coating, in his opinion. I lost it. What did it say after that?
Let's see. Yep, better than Phil's expensive one for base coating, in my opinion. I'll try and find a version of it but it was a free brush with a compressor. Never bothered using it, but tried it just for fun, and it base coated Mike's whole army without clogging once.
What? An entire army? Jeez, that is definitely a magic airbrush, Sam. I'm definitely gonna have to check this brush out. Find me a replica, a Sam replica. Have fun, Kuja and Kiwi. You have a lot of good story ahead of you, and hopefully Roxas will be able to get them into the guild sometime soon. It will do, bro. Excellent, excellent. What did Dad say?
He just pointed at.
Uh,
Oh, he was probably agreeing with Roxas
oh,
about the good story.
Daz, good luck to you as well if you're about to join the raid. You're probably, you being our main tank. Daz there, by the way, Heather Oakley, right now, is the main tank for our entire guild, the Seeker's Path. And he just confirmed that what Lily said is true and accurate. Sweet. So, the new Reavers, I see that there's a lot of people that got some mixed opinions on. Cujo was asking about them earlier. I'm really stoked about them. I know Steve is really stoked about them. I know Sam thinks that their armor makes them look like they have shoes on, which is kind of funny. I almost want to paint some little Converse symbols on them. Speaking of new models looking funny, Sam from the Emperor's Path posted up a picture of the new Amon figure for the Thousand Suns, and the way that GW painted him up, he posted up. Is it just him, or does it look? Does the new character look like he's painted up to be a hamster to anyone else? And once he said that, I couldn't unsee it. And now every time I see one of the new pictures of Amon, I see hamster face. It is absolutely hilarious.
Let's see. Who just said he's a Marauder tank, Wargamer Online, as PC or PS4, and that he played it. He played Final Fantasy on launch and loved it, but didn't have a guild.
Oh, well, if you ever want to get back into it, and we can get some transfers over to our Balmung server, or we ship out. That's something we're considering shipping out. Sam, we would love to have you in the Seeker's Path. And you don't have to worry about PS4 or PC because they are cross-compatible. So I play on the PS4, and Kuja does this, or Kuja or Kiwi, one of them plays on the PS4 as well.
Kuja plays on PS4, Kiwi is on PC.
Our Lancer Kane plays on PS4. Almost the rest of the guild, though, plays on PC. So we all kind of mix it up and play together.
Let's see. He says, awesome. May give it a go, but not flued up at all. Do I need to choose the same realm?
Ideally, yes. However, right now, because they just released a brand new expansion, I know you used to play WoW, and it's kind of like when WoW used to release a new expansion. You know, a lot of the realms that were kind of full, or servers in WoW that would get kind of full, population would explode because everybody's making alts and coming back that we didn't play before. Yes, in fact, the new expansion does have Samurai, and I am thinking about switching my monk over to Samurai right now. Samurai, though, is a prestige class, so you have to get a level 50 character to play Samurai. However, they're doing a thing right now, are they still doing it, where you can pay to get instantly level 50?
Yeah, it's in the mob station.
Yeah, so, if you wanted to choose that round, you wanted to jump straight to Samurai, boom, you can have a level 50 and jump right in and start raiding with us. Our guild is in a full server right now, though, so usually we have to have our friends pay to transfer to jump in ours, but they're releasing, hopefully soon, guild transferability, and we're actually thinking about porting our entire guild out, so that way we can go on you main Samurai in 11. You're a trooper, sir. I know most people had bad experiences with Final Fantasy 11, but you seem to have made it through just fine, sir.
As far as our server goes, our server is one of the, if not the most populated server in all of the North American realms. So it is constantly congested, and so it may be a while before people can transfer back over to ours. They're currently trying to come up with more and more incentives for people to leave our server, so it may be a while before people can transfer to the server.
Uh-oh. Well, they did say that population started to stabilize again, so hopefully that won't be an issue very long. All right, I think I'm just going to finish up this last cannon, and or at least the base coat of silver, and then we'll call it a day. Oh, my man Oversoul has joined us. Way to go, Oversoul. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. So just started playing Final Fantasy, and then he said, then it cut off on me.
Let's see, he just started playing Final Fantasy XII, the Zodiac Age, on PS4. This version includes job classes, 12 of them to be exact, but you only have 6 characters, so you have to pick and choose.
Huh. I'm guessing that's a brand new 12 game, not a remake?
No, it's a remake of it, but they added a job class system, which wasn't in the original version of the game.
Oh. As long as my favorites are there. Is Fran still there? Because Fran is like one of my favorite Final Fantasy babes ever. Somebody? Oversoul, is Fran still there? Balthier? I like to fancy that I'm Balthier. You know, Balthier had such style and charisma. I may have had a little bit of a desire to be Balthier.
Let's see. Who Took My Dice says, I really need to get into Final Fantasy 14.
And he says, lock for the win. You know, it's funny. Our Locke is a great character. I love Final Fantasy, and you definitely need to get in 14. So that way, you know, we can kidnap you for our guild too. We'll kidnap Kuja and Kiwi. We'll kidnap you and Sam. I'll make all of you play in our guild.
Make them.
Make them handcuffing people to keyboards. I mean nothing. Yeah, you definitely need to get in the game. Darklight Dreamer and we have a baby brother named Lolito. However, I was like, that's a mouthful. I don't really want to call him Lolito. This is when he was just a baby. I said, I don't really want to call him Lolito. And I looked at him, you know, little baby him. I said, from now on, your name is Locke. And we've called him Locke ever since. In fact, even my mom, who used to jump on us, said, like, his name is not Locke. His name is Lolito. Nowadays, she's like, so, are you and Locke going to be coming to see Grandma on Saturday? You know, she doesn't even realize she says it because Darklight and we've made it such the norm to call that as his name. She's just kind of come to accept it.
Let's see. Roxy says, yes, join us on 14. We have awesome stories and cat girls. Oversoul says that 12 Zodiac is a remaster of the International Zodiac job system.
Okay, cool.
The story is the exact same, just include gameplay changes and upgraded graphics, plus a 2-time or 4-time speed mode, which is great for grinding. The license board is different though, because each job class comes with a different license board.
Cool. Well, hey, as long as I get to have Fran, one of my favorite cat girls ever, we're good.
Fran is a Viera. She's a bunny girl.
I'm one of my favorite bunny girls ever.
Who Took My Dice says that he will come willingly.
Okay, we won't have to kidnap Steve then.
That's good because Dad says that's a lot of kidnapping, Steve does.
Daz, sir, you are a heathen. Are you amongst us not willing to help me kidnap friends to make them play 14? Do we stop at grass, Daz? Do we stop at grass? There's my main tank. Alright, guys. I just finished up the last canon. I think I'm going to call it here. Thank you guys so much for being part of this discussion. And I really enjoyed chilling and chatting with you guys live. So for next week, we are going to shoot to do this again. So 8 o'clock next Wednesday, Central Time. My pleasure to stick on, Sam. And Shroud comes on at the end. Shroud, definitely watch the playback because I was showing off your tank a little bit. And I think you'll like it. Thanks for joining me, guys. I really enjoyed chilling and chatting with you, and we are definitely going to do this again next week. I'm sorry, Lars. And if you liked today's episode, then grab up an axe and smash that like button in the name of the Emperor. And of course, if you guys are not yet subscribed to the channel, then we would love to have you as part of the pack here on the Frost and Fist. Until next time, guys, stay frosty.